All right, so we're moving forward with this Fox project. I have the right side of the receiver completely shaped. I have the beaded fence all shaped, rounded out, polished up. I have the scroll back shaped. I've got the rebates on the top and bottom. I have the receiver flat shaped, and I have the shadow line shaped underneath. So everything is ready to go on the right side. On the left side, I still need to do all of that work. But right now, we're going to be shaping out the beaded fence, getting the curve all the way around it. All right, so whenever I shape a beaded fence like this, I shape the outside, I round the outside, I'll round up to here, and then I'll take my engraver and I'll cut here. And then I'll turn the whole receiver sideways and I'll round off the top and I'll undercut the inside. So I've just got an array of files that I use, and I start down by the barrel beads or the barrel bars, and I just start rounding to match the way the barrel bars are. You don't have to round them off too terribly much. We can always round them more. It all depends how it looks in the end. So we get the sharp edges broken off, and then we cut it with the engraver, and then we'll go back in and we just keep rounding or we keep removing material until it looks the way we want it to. All right, so I've shaped the outside round. Now I'm going to take my engraver and shape the inside. And I work from the high side to the low side, because I want to match this contour. So I've engraved and cut away all this material. Now I have a file die sinker. I'm going to go in and smooth all that out on the inside there. All right, so we need to do the scroll backing. I've heard so many different names for this. I call it scroll backing. Some people call it fancy backing. It doesn't provide any strength to the wood, doesn't provide any strength to the stock. It just looks pretty. So we're going to go over that. I have made a template that is a fairly close fit to the right side. So what I'm going to do, flip it over onto the left side, and I'm going to mark center. I'm going to move the center up a little bit, because if I just centered this pattern on the flat we have here, I would get the scroll backing too close to our sear pin, and our sear would be very thin and it wouldn't be strong. So the scroll backing is going to go right about there. We'll lay it all out, and we'll start cutting. All right, so what I'm going to do, some people use layout dye. I use a Sharpie. It dries faster and you don't have all those fumes of layout dye. So to figure out where to put the scroll backing, I measure the width of the flat, and then I take that width and I divide it in half, and then I add 50 thousandths to move it up. I don't want it to be perfectly centered, because once again it gets too close to the sears. I move it up 50 thousandths, and on this gun it's going to be 788 thousandths. So I'll set my calipers to that, mark where the center of that scroll back is going to go, and then I'll use my template to lay it out. So I've marked where the center of my scroll back is going to be, and I can take my template and I'm just going to scribe all the way around it. So I always start right in the middle, and I cut the center, and I always do everything at a sharp angle like this. When you finish, you have to do a draft angle. So a draft angle is where you have, well, your inside is a whole lot deeper than the outside. That way when you're inletting, it makes it a whole lot easier to inlet. But when I first start off, I do this at an angle so I can get around all the internals, and I can cut, I can use more of the file. Once you're cutting down this way, you have the receiver in your way, so you can't make a very long stroke with your file. So, and since I've got a nice line scribed for my template, I can just cut right up to the line, and I know it's going to be pretty darn close to where I want it to finish in the end. And this way, if I go too far with the angle that I've got right now, it's pretty easy to weld the material back on and get everything back that I need it to be. So now I've got the shape that I want. I'm going to file flat to get the whole thing, the whole thickness of it, to the shape I want, and then I'm going to do the whole thing at an angle. Sometimes when I do this for the curves, what I'll do is take my Fordham tool and grind everything out to make it flat. It's a whole lot faster than using a file, where you only get a stroke that's that far, and well, it's just faster. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and then I'll do this center portion by hand with a file. So I've filed everything up, I've got my draft angles, and this is only the second time I've put the template in there. I did it once off camera, and the fit is pretty darn good. So I'm going to leave it at that, and that's how I scroll back at the receiver. Rebaiting the receiver, this actually adds strength to the stock, because as you can see here, the top tang and the bottom tang taper, so each time you shoot the gun, that tang is pushing the wood apart. If you rebait the receiver, that means that the wood is going to lock into there, and it keeps the wood from separating as much. So I've rebaited one side. What I'm going to do on the other side is lay it out and then cut it. I'm measuring the depth. Looks like we've got 80 thousandths. What I'm going to do, take a Sharpie, fill in. I'm going to scribe a line that's 80 thousandths with the camera there. So that's the depth that I'm going to rebait to, and all I do is I use a file and I go just on the inside. So I don't take anything off the tang, and I don't take anything off this side of the receiver. I'm just going straight in until I get to my depth, and then I'm going to go at an angle to get a draft angle. Alright, I pulled the screw out of the rotary bolt yoke just so I could actually use my file, and all I'm going to do is just go down to depth, and then I'll add my draft angle. It's a pretty quick and easy thing to do, which adds something nice to your, it looks nice in the middle, and it adds strength to the stock, which is always a good thing, especially when you're talking about old rifles. Some of the higher grade Foxes actually did have this on the receiver, which you don't see a whole lot of them, but some of the higher grade Foxes did have them. So this was actually something done at the factory. This isn't just a custom shop thing.